Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to go through and do our daily technical analysis update commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into how to play these commodity markets with individual companies. I look for high leverage plays, big asymmetry, and really good entry points based off technical analysis. We still have the coupon code Mayday that is going on and is active, M-A-Y-D-A-Y, one word, 50% off the first month, and a larger discount for those who are interested in a yearly membership. Even if you're already on the monthly, you can always go to the yearly. All right, guys, let's take a look. Let's dive in here, see what's going on today, and I'll share my opinions. Starting with the DXY, major weakness in the DXY. Again, this could be a pivot where we might pivot up a little bit, but we'll have to watch what the bounce looks like. The reason I think it could pivot is because it already did. It was coming back up after that big move in the morning. So momentum is coming up throughout the day, but we have to watch to see what this bounce looks like, because that could determine potentially what it looks like going forward. We are still above a lot of support. Let me dive in here. We still have all this support underneath us, and I'll extend this other trend line out. That is acting as support. So we could fall a little bit more into that support region before finding a lot of support. So there could still be some more downside. It really depends on what yields do, in my opinion. Now, when looking at yields, the 2-year yield dropping like a rock. If Powell lowers rates, and it seems like that's what the market is anticipating. If they lower rates, what I would suspect the rates to do, I'm just going to move this over a little bit, there we go, is we could see this thing drop back down. Why does that matter? It matters because it's an uninversion of the yield curve. There could be some sort of problem in the market, and then the market could have a little bit of a doozy in the short term. And then I think the dollar's going to weaken, and then we rip again. But there could be a slowdown before that rip. We could drop like that and move on higher. And again, we'll see what this looks like first. We'll see if we break through this support level to the downside. That all still has to occur. But today, pretty big move lower. And the momentum is still to the downside here. So looking good for a move lower. 10-year yield also looking pretty weak at the moment. We are right on that support level. And this is what I've got there. Are we going to break up or down? To me, it looks like it's trying to break down now. It's getting a little bit more clarity in the direction of where we may go. Now, we do have a little bit of a wick at the bottom. We are at support. We could see a little bit of a bounce or a move sideways, which would be a flag pattern or some sort of flag like this that we come up and then we drop. I don't know the path. I'm just giving you guys potential options of what could occur, but we're at that support level for the 10-year. And then the 30-year, it's also down, but we've got a little bit more room before we start hitting support down here. And if we do get this pullback like this, and I think if we do get that pullback, we're going to see yields go back up eventually. The reason I think that is because I think the housing market's going to kick back into gear. That's what I think. And I think the market thinks that too. And that's where I'm gauging my opinions from. So short term, let's see if yields break through to the downside, which is going to be really good for the housing market, for home builders, for all those things, if yields drop to a certain level. So we're going to continue to watch that. TYX, TNX ratio. We had yields drop, dollar drop, and then we have a uninversion of the yield curve for the 30 and 10. This is the most correlated thing I could find with gold. So this looks excellent for gold, because if we cycle back up like we did here, that means that gold and silver are going to be the preferred areas for investment. If you've been a part of the website, we were buying those investments here, anticipating that this would eventually be an outcome. That is why we did that. That's why we loaded up in some of those companies, and I'm highly glad that it's working out for us at this part of the cycle. TLT bond prices, they are moving higher. That's what we're seeing. We're right at that resistance line. So that resistance level, we're at it. I do think it looks like we might want to head higher for the 20-year bond. And we'll see if that breaks out. And I'm guessing that it will. Then we get the 2 and 10. This is for yield curve uninversion, and it does look like we're uninverting here. So we could see more uninversion in the near future here. We've got a strong impulse move lower. This is a continuation pattern there, and it does look like we could go a little bit lower here with the uninversion. What does that mean? If we drop like a rock, generally we get a slowdown somewhere in this region. It could even be down here. These are all slowdowns. So if we get down here a ways, we generally get slowdowns where those X's are at. So that's what we want to look for. If we start to come down, which we are, and we'll see if we continue lower, there could be a slowdown in the market. And we could see tech stocks drop, S&P 500 drop. It could pull everything down with it for a short period of time. And then when they lower rates, we are probably going to see a weaker dollar. It's going to be very similar to 2001. And then eventually 2002, and that's when commodities went ballistic goose. So looking at gold, gold's up $40 an ounce today, looking fantastic, and the momentum's still to the upside. I suspect that gold's going to continue higher if the same market conditions and yields are the same. Silver's up 2.26%. That looks fantastic. Anyone who's bearish, guys, just don't listen to them. It's going higher. Give it time. Be patient. Don't try to trade this thing on the short term. Let it make you money. We've got a long way to go in yield curve uninversion before that happens. And a lot of the times there is a boost in the economy with money. And that's when you really get that last surge in gold and silver. Platinum's up 1.1%. We're still underneath that resistance line. It will break at some point, and it will be glorious. And then palladium also just moving sideways right above support, and we'll see if that support line holds and if we can get a little bit of a move on up. GDX up 2.8%, looking strong, feeling strong. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. It's could be in full launch mode here very soon. GDXJ also busting through that resistance level. We're peaking out above it. This is exactly what I want to see. And we are about to rip, RIP it. And then SILJ up 3.65, the leader of the day for those, up quite a bit and still looking fantastic. And this could even be earlier. We could break out of this to the trend line up there and then rip. I mean, there's a lot of potential here, guys, because we have a long runway, very long runway. The runway is XAU to gold. And this is where I said, need to break this line for happiness. And I'm sure you guys, I wrote this back here, guys. And I said, when we break, it's going to be happiness. We've broken the line. Are you guys not happy? Do I not entertain you? But it's good because I like being long this stuff with a runway as big as gold and silver miners against gold. This has a long way to run, guys. This is not a time to mess around. It's not a time to try to short-term trade. Get your entries down here at the bottom and then ride it on up. Ride it on up with me. If you want to join the website, you can ride it up with us, which we're already on the train. Crude oil up 1.22%, looking pretty good. Can we break and get above 87? That's what I want. I want that to break there, guys. Get me above that. Get me above that. I want to see a higher high. We've got the lows. The lows are coming up, but I'd like to see a higher high. That will be a trend change. I also think that this thing is positioned absolutely fantastic for a big move. Now, here's the thing. If we get a slowdown in the market, could we do this before that? We could. We could. So be mentally prepared if that does occur. Doesn't mean it will occur. It means it could occur. But just be mentally prepared. I'm positioned for this ride, and if we get that last dip, I'm going to buy that last dip too. TTF, nat gas up a little bit. Momentum's to the downside still. That has not reversed yet. And then natural gas in America, a little bit still bullish. Momentum to the downside. So we still have some bearish natural gas vibes going on. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, the conditions are changing for this. So when we look at all this, it's not necessarily all about supply and demand. It depends on money rotation and the market itself. So when money starts to rotate, it's going to rotate into energy, it's going to rotate into precious metals, it's going to rotate into all these commodities. When the dollar drops, we're going to see weakness most likely in the S&P 500 technology stocks, and that's where the money's going to rotate from. It's going to rotate from those areas. The bond market could go up with us for a little while, and then we'll lose the bond market later because there's going to be too much inflation from monetary lending at some point. And if the fiscal side keeps spending, well, it's just more inflation. So XOP, right, peeking through, looking pretty good, pretty strong candlestick. OIH also pretty strong, breaking to the upside without support. Like we've been talking about, there's a trend line. Hopefully we can gap this thing to the upside. I am very much a bull in energy service and energy in general. Newcastle coal down a little bit. This is your retest, guys. That's what I buy. I buy the retests. Don't be afraid. Be confident. We're above support. We are making a higher low. And eventually we'll make a higher high, and that is, by definition, a new uptrend. Profits for Uranium Trust, slightly lower, but it's not a big selling pressure candlestick. That is what we want to see. Still good to try to work our way on up. We'll see if the buyers follow through here. Futures pricing is starting to head on up. I would be bullish. Bullish, bullish, bullish uranium, boys. It's about to break here. I would be bullish. And then URA up 0.7%, looking pretty strong. Not a huge selling pressure candlestick after that big monster day yesterday, so it looks good. I call that the bloody nose. Uranium, same thing. URNJ, same thing. It's even, the bloody nose is up a little bit, 1.85% for URNJ. So that looks really good. URNJ versus URNM coming out of that bottom. This was your swap point. Some people asked me about that on the website. And I said, yes, yes, yes. It looks good down here. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Copper up or down 2.14%, pulling back a little bit today. Still looks good. Looks like it wants to do a little bit of a retest move. I'm just going to throw a trend line there, and I'll leave it there. Maybe it'll come on back to that. COPX down just a little bit. It's holding on, though. It's not huge selling pressure. That is generally bullish. We've got iron ore. It's down a little bit, double bottom. It looks good. And we could have a slowdown in the market first. That's a possibility, but longer term, I think we are in a bullish setup. We continue to have higher lows, which is that trend line. Aluminum down just a little bit. The momentum still to the downside. Let's this thing, let it work its way out. This is probably an A, B, C correction, somewhere where the X is. And then aluminum will probably be a good purchase there at some point. Nickel down a little bit too. A lot of people are not really paying attention to it. And it could be basing. It could also be one last final move lower if that is a inverted flag pattern. We've got Mu up quite a bit today. Now, you should be looking here. Yes, on our website, we were talking about opportunities here, guys. We're breaking out of this bottom here at support. You should be looking. You know my favorite companies. That is where I've had recent additions into the portfolio in some of those areas. This is the area I'd be looking right now. Fertilizers. Emerging markets up 0.57%. Weaker dollar, weaker yields. This will be a booster to the upside if we continue to get those weaker yields. And then weaker yields, that's going to be better bank lending, better on bonds, all that stuff. So the banking system is liking what's coming. So that's going on up. Looking pretty good, breaking out of that resistance area. We could see a move higher if those yields continue on down. So this actually looks like a buy point to me. Right here. Looks good. We've got TAN up 4.5%. It likes those lower yields. I'm expecting lithium and REMX to also be up. There we go. And REMX is up too. So all the interest rate sensitive areas are up today as yields went down. Baltic Dry Index also higher, looking pretty good, right on support, or almost at support. We've got XHB home builders ripping it. The market knows the demand's there if the affordability comes back. We're going to see home builders rip it if we get lower yields. And if that's in the cards, I suspect this to make another full-on gigantic move higher. This is a Livermore accumulation cylinder, and this is going to rip. It's going to rip and probably have another leg higher. Russell 2000 also ripping higher. This looks ready to break here, guys. Look at the big day today. The value, small cap value stuff does well when we get a rotation away from the Nasdaq and stuff like that. So I think this could do very well. You could also say that this was a retest here, if I drew it correctly. Retest through there, and we're working our way up. So it looks good. S&P 500 is down. It does have a reversal candlestick. No way. Lower, lower, lower. I've been waiting for this to occur. So S&P 500, Nasdaq also getting a bearish engulfing, lower, lower, lower. Is this a throw over top? It could be. So is this the Batman pattern? The throw over top. Hey, Batman, are we going to go lower here? We could. Not stating that it will, just saying we could. If we get a slowdown in the market, yields generally follow that slowdown, and a lot of the times the Nasdaq and S&P come off its highs. SMCI down a little bit, but still above support. NVIDIA getting sold off quite a lot. Now, these are bearish engulfing candlesticks, guys. Lower. The rotation is occurring right in front of our eyes. I know some people, and when you look at wave analysis, now this is a tough one to see, but this could be a potential top. We'll see. Bitcoin down just a teeny bit. It's holding on at this time with its strength. Just holding on right there. We've got support with the wicks at the bottom. And then we've got Ethereum also holding on. But again, this could fall depending on the Nasdaq. So you had a big surge lower. This is your bounce higher. And then you come into something like this where then it is a continuation pattern lower is the way that I see it. So there could be some weakness over in the tech S&P if these conditions continue. So that's what we've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you guys want ideas for commodity investments, mainly commodities. I do look at other stuff too, home builders and stuff like that. And I would look at even emerging markets as well. There's going to be opportunities there if this dollar continues to weaken and if yields continue to weaken. And I suspect if there's a problem, we could see an uninversion of the yield curve, something very similar to 2000, 2001, that transition. I'm not saying that it's transitioning tomorrow, but I'm saying it's similar setup, similar to where the home builders are at with us being in a deficit for homes. All of that looks very similar to 2000, 2001. But that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up. Don't forget, click subscribe. I haven't really said click subscribe hardly ever, but if you want to subscribe to the channel here, go ahead, click subscribe for me. That does help me a little bit get videos out there. So that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.